Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. I'm Mona Duncan, and today I'm going to be sharing with you back in 1996, whenever I was certified to be, well, when I was a certified member of the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory, and tell you a little story about it before I go with the PowerPoint. Is that I'll just go ahead and get started with the PowerPoint itself, and maybe and weave in the story as we go. So let's find here, share the screen and pull that up. And whenever I did the activity at the certification, I did not have my PowerPoint because the person who did the most of my training in all 5 steps, and very delightful person, and loved her. And anyway, she was concerned that I was going to be talking too much about spirituality, and that she didn't see it as going hand in hand with Dr. Glasser's stuff. And so I was just so discouraged by the time I was leaving to go to Ohio that I just left everything at home. I didn't even take it. I thought, well, I've already paid for this. I'll go, I'll get the experience, I'll have the information. If I don't get certified, it's not a big deal. So what? Okay, Sarah, Sarah. And so I just left everything at home. Matter of fact, I even just threw it in the trash. Uh, and so whenever I got there, well, I will take this down so I can share with you what. So whenever I got there, and was participating in the group that they had put me in. I think there was like 18 different groups of people that were being certified. And anyway, one morning, Dr. Glasser had, well, one morning, there was a room where Dr. Glasser was going to be meeting with the different groups that day and talk with them and so forth. And anyway, I was in the process of trying to lose some weight, which had been a lifelong process for many, many years. And I was walking around the upstairs corridor, and I noticed that Dr. Glasser was in this one room, and he was all by himself. And that there was chairs and everything there for a conversation. And I walked around, and the third time that I walked around, I thought, I'm just going to go in and chat with this guy. So I went in and asked him if I could talk with him for a minute, and he said yes. And I shared with him that I was there to be certified, that I didn't think I was going to progress with it after all. And he says, well, tell me about it. What's the difference? What's going on? And I told him that I really saw that, spirituality or presence or just would be a sixth need. And he says, well, he had a lot of people that felt that way. But from his point of view, the spirituality comes under love and belonging, which I thought that was very insightful, and I really appreciated that. And so we talked for a while, and then as we were talking all night, he says, well, when I told him that I had just thrown my stuff away, didn't bring anything with me, and he says, well, you remember it, don't you? I said, yes, I do remember what I was going to do. He said, well, there's a business office downstairs. Why don't you, go down there and see if you can kind of reconstruct it? And so I chose to do that. And I was certified. And so we'll go back now, and I'll share the screen and we'll talk about it. Share. Okay. So here we are in our behavior car, and we're driving into the real world, which consists of people, places, ideas, and things that exist or have some kind of a vestige of having existed, whether it was through history or whatever. But as we are driving forth into what's ahead of us, what is in our mind thinking, projecting ahead of us, we have in our somewhere tucked inside our being what we see as a quality world. And that quality world is something that we really are looking forward to having and embracing. Well, we may already have some of it with us, but it's just realizing that there's just something that is kind of intangible in a tangible world. So, looking at the fact that we have 5 basic needs, and our basic needs, of course, first and foremost, is to survive. If we do not survive, and that survival includes staying alive, reproducing, being safe, having healthy foods emotionally and psychologically. But I also looked at the fact of we're all so different, and we have different drives within us. With either that low drive that this is something I need, but it's not a big deal, or it's something that I need and it really is a big deal. And so that low drive would be risk takers, it'd be adventurers. And if you've ever watched the survival TV programs, I need you to know that people's high survivor, if they are high survivor people, they are not risk takers, because the high drive on a survival risk taker is very, very low. They just want everything taken care of. They want status quo, the routine. Then we also have love and belonging. It is to be able to fit in, to be accepted, to be loved, and to be loved. And that low drive could be, kind of the loners, the recluses, that having that interconnection with others is not quite as important to them as it is to others. And they're outsiders. They have less connections. Whereas those on a high spectrum, they're more the socialites, and more the nurturers, the encouragers. And freedom the same way. We have a need to be free to make our own decisions. Those with a low drive have a tendency to go along with the crowd, whereas those with a high freedom need have a tendency to be the pace setters. It's kind of a don't tell me what to do. And it's between submitting to and being somewhat rebellious of. We also have the need for power, which is to accomplish, which is to be competent, which is to be able. And the low need is to work with others. The high need is to be the leader of. It is to be that power with, and sometimes even the power over. Not that it would be endorsed with reality therapy, but sometimes that power over comes in with people in general. And then fun. We have the need to have fun, to have some pleasure, just to enjoy. And that fun is the genetic, it is the for learning. Because whenever we're enjoying something, we have a tendency, whether we try to or not, to be learning something. And that low need for fun is lethargic, just, taking life as it is, as being the high need is being a gamer and definitely a survivor. So anyway, in our needs, I had talked with the possibility of the sixth need, which was spirituality. And it's that need for connectedness with something bigger than ourselves. It's with God, it's with others, it's with generations past as well as generations future. And it's having that connection with people in such a way that we leave a legacy. And in looking at our different, in our individual being, is it nature or is it nurture? Sometimes the way that we come out believing about life in general and associating with different things has a lot to do with the nature, the genetic, the DNA, and some of it has to do with the nurturing, the RNA that we received as children growing up. And so under the DNA, we have our appearance and all of its associates, not only the way that we look, but the different way that we think and so forth. We also have our individual temperament. It's a gifting, it's a personality, it's the talents, it's the things that we have been given through our DNA genetic structure. And then the basic needs that we've already talked about, those 5 basic needs, that they're universal, they're genetic, they're general, and they sometimes overlap each other. And then in the nurturing, what we are nurtured by or what we pick up, it's not that we're necessarily taught, but a lot of times it is that we have caught the way that other people have worked with us. And so we have been nurtured by our attitude, whether it is accepting or not, by our values and by our behaviors. And then our behaviors, there's a whole bunch of things there that kind of defines what our behavior is or what it does. It's chosen, and we're always behaving, and it is purposeful. At least it is to us, may not think so to someone else. The behavior is an attempt to get a need met. And the behavior is our thermostat of how we are feeling or how we are presenting ourselves. Our behavior is total, meaning that it includes the thoughts we think, the actions we take, and the feelings we feel. And it also affects our physiology. And that the longer a behavior goes on, the more ingrained it becomes, whether it is on purpose or just the fact that we fall into those habitual ongoing behaviors. So what is the problem in having all of these behaviors and trying to stay on an even keel with them? Well, we are internally motivated, and our internal motivators are met through external behaviors or external surrounding. And sometimes we allow that external surrounding to be more dictating as to who we are and what we do than to look internally to see who we really are. The problem is that a person pursues these internal motivators. That's the 5 needs that we just talked about. We pursue these internal motivators unconsciously. I mean, the majority of people, young or old or aging, whenever you talk about these basic needs, they give kind of an aha, yeah, I can see that, although I'd never seen it before. Because we are pursuing them, it is a need that is internal, and we pursue it, of having friends, of connecting, of being able, of taking care of ourselves. Another part of the problem is that we pursue these internal motivators are often done in very immature ways. We begin to act like children and so forth. And so Dr. Glasser said, here's a little fill in the blank, those of you that are familiar with reality therapy and choice theory, we control the world for blank by blank. So what would you fill in those blanks to be? Well, here it is. We control the world, or attempt to. We control the world for need by behavior. For whatever it is we need, we try to control it by the way we behave. And sometimes that can be pleasant, and sometimes it can be part of the warring world. And so this was just a little thing that I did way back then, before we had the electric cars and all that, as looking at how the vehicle, our behavior car, and the chart that Dr. Glasser came up with, and how it kind of coincides with our body and the various things that we have that it involves. So the importance of balance as we're going down the road. Now, if you've ever had a vehicle, you've ever been in a vehicle that was driving it, that was out of balance, something new, maybe been hit, something that caused it to be out of balance. And what happens is the car has a tendency to pull one way or the other, either toward the left or toward the right. Now, that car will always pull toward the way to which has the greatest part of the imbalance. But we as human beings, we may just bounce from here to there, back and forth to something else, being radically out of balance. When a vehicle is out of balance, there's more of a rough ride. Doesn't ride as smoothly. And also the tires, as well as other mechanical things, depending on the length of time that it is out of balance as opposed to being balanced, they wear out prematurely. You can look at the tires, and one side of it will be balding, whereas the other side, or the other portion of that one that's hitting the ground, has tread. And so we're wanting to be aware of our needs and keep them in balance. And in balance, it's not fight or flight. It's facing what we need and flowing with it, and how to have it met in a way that is good for us, that is not harming to others. Being in balance, it's not a win or lose position, but an equality of power. It's getting along with people. And it realize that whenever we say no in one area, we're saying yes in another, because the yeses and the nos. Um, so some keys to change. We begin to look at ourselves and we're not real sure about, and we're waking up enough to realize, hey, I need to make some changes here. Well, first off, it's becoming aware. It's looking at the fact of what is a oh no instead of a yes. So become aware of it. And then realize that the only person you can change is you. So you take personal responsibility. And in the process of taking personal responsibility of you, to see if maybe you have been overly responsible or if you've really harmed another person, or anyway, and to continually self-evaluate, to get there and question yourself, am I too anxious? Am I, self-evaluate. And then in the process, make a plan. And always, 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 we have to get bottom line honest with ourselves. And so, what are some of the things that might keep us from changing? Even though we are telling ourselves, I want to do things differently, I want to be, uh, well, the things that keep us from changing is as we justify. Yeah, but I tried that, but, I just can't help. That's just the way I am. Well, that's going to keep you from moving forward, or rationalizing, or denying, or getting dishonest, or being fearful. Those things will keep us from changing. And it's time to go back to this self evaluating so that you can begin to realize that I'm enough and I can do it. So, also in um, the vehicle, I put make mine a rocket ship. The car had a lot to do with it, but uh, and in navigation, I have a friend that's a navigator. And anyway, she made the comment that whenever you need to watch the instrument panel, because you have a tendency in your own natural feelings to get what they call the leans, that you're wanting to lean, you're wanting to turn your plane so that it will go one way, but you need to watch your instrument panel, because that instrument panel that is indifferent to the thoughts and the feelings of the pilot, that instrument panel will tell you whether you're flying straight or whether you're getting askew or whatever. And so, also with that rocket ship, we need to overcome pull. We need a lot of lift and thrust to overcome pull and drag, because the gravity that's in the airways, it takes a lot of energy to get that several hundred pounds or several thousand pounds of a vehicle up off of the ground. That lift and thrust to overcome that pull and drag that wants to keep you right here on safe on the soil of planet Earth. But then once you do that and you begin to watch your instrument panel and trust those indicators, then we can go up, and away. And I find that there's two ways. We could either meditate or we could medicate. And they have the same root word, and that is to heal. And so as we meditate, we can evaluate, realizing, is what I'm doing, is what I'm saying, is what I'm thinking, is it helping or is it hurting? And then making a plan that we're willing to stick with and continue to evaluate as to whether or not we're sticking with that plan. Or sometimes we crash and burn, because we go with those things to medicate us. And whether that is legitimate pills that the doctor has given that may be very legitimate, or whether it is those things that includes overeating, that includes addictions of all kinds, that includes those things that it's going to give us some kind of a buzz, whether it is smoking or drinking or alcoholism, or we know those things that are beginning to harm us physically, internally, whenever. And what happens is it leads to addictions, to violence, and to unloving sex. And so our working with people and being with people becomes not engaging, and it becomes much less enjoying. And so here at the bottom, I have a picture, a tree. Here is a tree on the left-hand side that is complete, whole, and healthy. But that is because that whenever things are not going well, as there's pain, whatever that pain producing is, as we begin to acknowledge that pain and see the purpose of pain, here I'm going from the bottom up, because that's what seeds, when you plant a seed, it begins to grow. And a lot of times it is doing a lot of growth and you don't even know anything is happening until you finally see that little itty bitty smidgen of green pop up through the soil. So as we begin to see the purpose in pain, we begin to accept the challenge of overcoming that pain, and we overcome failure. We realize and we reduce the pain. And then we begin to gain worth as a human being. And we begin to be more and more self-disciplined. And we begin to love not only ourselves, but life and people in general. And we find that we're having fun. And that takes us to being complete and whole and healthy and fulfilled. Whereas whenever we're over here with the pain and we see no purpose in pain, poor little me, poor little me, and we give up on the challenge of overcoming that pain, and we are distracted to try to reduce the pain, as in, give me a smoke, give me a this, give me a that, give me another donut, give me this, something to reduce that pain. And we try to do some kind of medicating to escape the pain. And again, whether that's legal or illegal, whether that is really good for us or not so good for us. And all that begins to happen through this is our mood changes. Unfortunately, it has a tendency to go down, 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 become self-depreciating, filled with guilt and shame, even though we may be quite boastful and robust, filled with guilt and shame. And the pleasure, we take pleasure in pain. And what I mean by that is you begin to talk with your friends and they tell you about she done me wrong song. And you say, well, you just think that was bad. Let me tell you what someone did to me. And it begins taking pleasure in pain. And it takes us down and we become negative and addicted and we're fragmented and we're divided and there's no fruit on the tree. So let's remember this growth scale. And so the power of total behavior that you can learn through reality therapy and choice theory. And that is, yes, you are the center, not the center of the universe, but you're the center of your being. And there's, it includes your thinking, acting, feeling, and physiology. And it also includes your family, your mate, your children, your neighbors, your coworkers. And as you grow mentally, physically, intellectually, as you grow, then your world expands, expands, expands. And so, the powers that be in 1996 approved the certification. And I'm so very, very thankful to do that. And then I later went on and took some more training and became an instructor with the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory. And it has been a delight. And for those of you watching now or watching in the future that have not yet sampled reality therapy and choice theory, I encourage you to take the 5 steps to becoming a certified member of really knowing how to benefit you as well as benefit the rest of the world. So thanks for being here and many blessings.